What is that? What is that?
Get your special sock out, nerds. It's gonna get good.
And I am Iron Man.
What is going on, everyone? Paul Thayer here, the creator and writer of Project Analysis, Omega 2090, Crimson Pain, all the great comics that you know and love. And we have a very special guest today. We have the creative director of VeeFriends, the man himself, DJ. And without further ado, what is up, DJ?
How's it going, man?
It's going really well. How was your weekend?
Well, how was my weekend? It was a blur. Yeah. Like we're nonstop. But yeah, very good.
Or were you in the city? Were you just working from home?
What the heck was I doing? We were just up in New York for the drop of issue 13 of VeeFriends on Friday. So I came back on Saturday, my wife's birthday on Saturday.
Happy
So it's that balance of like, my wife's like, I'm like, are you sure I'll be gone half of your birthday? She's like, no, yeah, it's good. And then of course it was a trap. So, you know, so
I get it. We're in the same boat.
Yeah.
The issue 13, was that the farm fight issue or is that the next one?
Yeah, it's Farm Fights. That's the Bill Sienkiewicz cover for Farm Fights. Let me see. There you go.
Sick.
Yeah. Jim Rugg's Farm Fights. Got the Jim Rugg on the book. There's the Bill Sienkiewicz cover.
Now, I didn't bring it down, but the was that kind of like the teaser was like that little strip one you did? I forgot the strip one you did with Jim.
Yeah, it was the Farm Fights. So that's the cool thing we're doing is like Jim brought these little the Farm Fights minis to which were basically like the what do they call them? Chick tracks from like churches. So it was Jim's idea to like do the first versions. He did this like 2 weeks before New York Comic Con. He's like, I think I could print 1,000 of them. And he went and hand printed them himself because he's a maniac. And we gave them away 1,000 for free. Like, but people have been, it's crazy. The VeeFriends community and this, you know, I don't know. I don't want to call them speculators, but like then the speculators get word of what's going on with VeeFriends. And like, they were flipping these for $50 on eBay.
I have a couple in my room. And
people are grading them.
So those that don't know, last time we saw each other was at New York Comic Con. You had an amazing booth, an amazing setup, and you had these slabs. And it was, I think it was like $70 or $80 a slab of the new book you had out at the time, which was the VeeFriends, I think VeeFriends 7. Yeah, VeeFriends 7. And I pulled a 9.8 David Mack signed, of course, right? Because I get super lucky. Which was sick. So I love this. I was just talking with David this weekend. He was at Awesome Con. He was like 2 weeks away from me. Yeah. And he's super excited because he's also doing you guys are going to do a spin-off series of the Notorious Ninja, right?
That's right. Yeah.
And that's announced, right? I found
that's
that
announced. Yeah. I mean, there's no details beyond that except that I just got the scripts from him and they're amazing. Yeah. So so that's on the horizon. We can probably talk a little bit more about it, but like, I don't like the idea of forcing a creative team to be like up against a deadline and like rushing it. So these are something because Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V, the big boss of VeeFriends, he's all about patience. You know, if you're in the comic book world, we're always up against deadlines and like, when do we get in the stores? When do we get like, what's next? And Gary's like, let's slow down and do it right. So that's pretty nice. Like even the artist, Kate, she drew issue 7. She'll be drawing the Max scripts. And she's like, what are my deadlines? And I'm like, as soon as possible, but not in a rush. I just want to see like, it takes her about 7 weeks to do pencils, inks, colors herself.
Yeah.
And I don't want to rush it. I think a 3-issue arc and then see how we go from there. But the plan right now will be probably shooting towards comic book stores, like general distribution. We haven't done that yet, but as we get these bigger names involved, and the
Now,
stories are good, you know.
this book, would that be your first technical spin-off that you're going to release?
Yep.
And was this chosen because now each story, because we'll go and I pulled up a couple issues, each story is a different kind of one shot, you would say? Has a beginning, middle, and end, and kind of like builds to this world with different characters?
Yeah, and there's a lot of cliffhangers too. It's almost like
Yeah.
I've been calling VeeFriends the title, sort of like an anthology series where each one is a little bit different. I mean, we've got 280 something VeeFriends characters, and Gary just has a lot of stories packed in his head. So we're the team that's unpacking these stories and putting them into the comics, but we may not get to all of them in our lifetime. Who knows? But for now, we do these creative summits, and Gary we kind of lightning through them, man. Within 20 minutes or a half an hour of chatting about Notorious Ninja or any other one that you might, Versatile Viking or something like that, there's always this big idea that comes out of it, or Gary already has the big idea kind of locked in his head. Like, no, guys, it's not about that. It's about this. And you're going to see a lot more of that content too, because he's Gary. So he had the foresight to record everything, which is really cool, because we did our first comics offsite in March of 2025 in Minnesota. We all stayed together at this big Airbnb. We lived there, and it was just wake up, have breakfast, and do nothing but cook on comics all day long.
Nice.
Just writing, ideating. The whole team was there. That's where Motivated
Who is
Monster
the
came
team
from.
that, let's say, was doing those powwows with you guys? Who was the team that you were powwowing with to like build this universe?
Yeah, the first comics offsite we had, Kate hadn't joined full time yet, so we had Ali Castro full time, myself, Chris Faison. Those were the three main comic artists that were there. At that time, Kate was still freelancing. I think she was drawing issue 6 at the time. But then we quickly were like, oh, we got to bring her on full time. So that's something a little bit different that we're doing, because that's just something that I brought up to Gary, where, you know, we've got the luxury of saying, like, how can we do something different for what makes sense for making comics? Because a lot of people just do, you know, outsourcing and getting the cheapest labor and stuff. And we understand that too, but it's like, again, if we can bring somebody on and give them some security in their pay, right, and that they don't have to worry about where the next paycheck's coming from, they're going to make better work, we think.
Correct.
And then, you know, Gary would probably ask, like, well, why isn't Marvel or DC doing this? And I'd be like, that's a good question, Gary. I don't know why that is, but it's probably just about, you know, the bottom line, saving money and whatnot. And independents can't afford it. You know what I mean? Like, many independent comic companies can't afford to have salary employees doing that. So that was the first offsite, was that crew. And then there was also Andy Kranak, the president of VeeFriends.
Yeah.
Adam Rips was there. He's the head of Collectibles. May Nu was there. She was in charge of all the marketing and like the social stuff. Who else was there? Cameraman. Yeah, it was a really unique. It was the first time we ever did that. And then Gary knew, he's like, this is the way that comics need to be made, whether it's through me or whatever. It's like, this is the getting together and having, you know, breaking bread, being like a family too. The second offsite we did in August was at Gary's dad's house. So nice. I thought, you know, like when people say like, hey, the second offsite, everybody's going to come to my mom and dad's house, you know, secret location, whatever. But like, you get to meet it's just all about like, can your company be more like a family together, this little crew of people? Besides that, I probably think that Gary probably has his parents go like, you know, sign off on the, like, these are good people, Gary, like, you know, that kind of thing.
You know, they have that instinct.
As long as we get his mom's blessing, I think we're good. But yeah, it's just a good, you know, changing your environment, because we can often be stuck in these offices or, you know, in our grind, going to conventions. Like, you go to a lot of conventions. When do you have time to kind of get out of your element? You know, we were in the woods in Minnesota doing that. And it was cool, man. Like, taking a walk, seeing eagles stuff like that. Like we were in the Viking Hills neighborhood area of Minnesota, and that made me start thinking about Vikings. Why is that called the Viking Hills?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. There was a runestone that was found not far from there. So you start getting cooking on all these like creative ideas, right? And so you can actually say like, hey, what if this connects to that? And Gary would often be like, okay, let's play with that. Like, okay, forget all that. Let's throw all that away and let's start over again. What did we like about the thing we just said 15 minutes ago compared to like, or is this too basic? So a lot of stories out there are just too basic. It's like chapter A, chapter B, chapter C, and then the end. Happy ending. Like, how do you put the unique twists on it without forcing it? These are all probably things you think of as a writer too, where it's like, oh, that's pretty. Everybody can see that coming.
Yeah, I try to work with the ending and then I work backwards. So if you know where the ending is, you know where they need to go, and you can stretch it from far and long or make it an issue, 2 issues, 3 issues, etc. You need to know where they're heading towards, and it makes everything easier if you know like that direction. I was really like, it's great that you said that, like, because usually I deal with a lot of people overseas or even people in America. And it's a lot of texting, maybe first call in the beginning, but a lot of texting, emails, do this, do that. And I changed my approach because when me and you talked last, I was just picking your brain. You were telling me to weekly stream, and I am weekly streaming with my team. I have my artist on Hybrid One and a writer that actually pitched me an idea. He's the Cosmic Collector on TikTok, and his name's Brandon. And he pitched me an idea for one of the characters in Project Analysis, and it was the best thing ever in a sense of like he was so passionate, he's ready to roll. And now I kind of like built this whole team, and it happened to be now our biggest Kickstarter we ever did. We're at like 21K right now. And usually we do about 5,000 a pre-order, but I feel like that basis of, building that community and, we're talking every single day, we're doing phone calls, we do, calls after we do the live streams. And I really do think it makes a big difference when you have like that ecosystem around you. And I think people could feed off that, which makes your community like so huge. It really did blow up in the last like 2 years, even more,
Yeah. I mean, even before I got working with Gary, I had there's some videos on YouTube here that's like the future of comics. It just occurred to me, like listening to people like Gary and other marketers out there, like saying, we've got all these tools at our disposal. What are we afraid of? Like it's our own insecurities or whatever, like how we look on camera, how we sound. Like I hated my voice. I was like, I don't like the way I sound, but now that's the thing that you hate the most about yourself is usually the thing that people like. So people will say like, oh, DJ, your voice is so soothing and whatever on the live streams. But I just kind of knew like, for me, up above me, there's like Terry and the Pirates and Steve Canyon and like the old adventure comic strips. And I'm like, man, that's such a daily dose of, I love the daily comics. I love that. But yet the world has moved on from that. The world has moved on from newspapers and whatnot. But I think that there's room for that daily dose of something, whether it's your social media or, Jim Murray and I were just talking about it. We went out to go see the Jack Kirby exhibit at the one museum in LA. It's not there anymore. It was like the last week we went, and his originals for his comic strips were gigantic. He drew them like 24 by 36. And it excited me because I was like, oh my God. I'm like, Jim, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get a drafting board right behind me and I'm going back to physical, And he's like, well, they're really hard to store, DJ. And I was like, okay, forget it. But if you could chop it into those panels, like one panel was this big, probably an 8 by 10, or maybe a 4 by 5 or something like that. Why not? Why not use social media for carousel to build your, I've just been excited about that for years and years. I thought Marvel and DC, I've talked to some DC people for a little while, but they were always against kind of like, traditional media versus web comics or something like that. They didn't really want to lean into web comics, but I'm like, but Paul, you as a fan of comics, could you imagine like a daily Batman comic from Greg Capullo and Brian Bendis, or I don't know, like get your top names to draw a freaking daily comic strip. You're going to have more readers reading that than probably even One Piece or something that's because they're going to tune in every day or they're going to catch up. There's just so many ways people can utilize social media and all these tools we have, and live streaming is definitely one of them. mix that with live commerce and what's going on with like Whatnot and all these other things, like beyond the blind bags and like the rarity structures of things. It's like there's this element of people that are just, that's where people go when they're escaping now. They're not going down to their local store or leaving their house. They're like going on their app and searching for something new, you know? So
I think that's a big thing too with the direct to consumer market. Like me personally, I have to build it through that Kickstarter platform, at least for the pre-orders. And I know you guys are very successful through the Whatnot. But really building that community has really been helping. We did a huge hybrid cover contest, and I feel like that's what blew us up. We had like over 100 submissions. We had all these brand new artists, and we ended up at it. I got like 100 submissions, and the artists were like fantastic. And we ended up choosing 3 winners. And then if we hit certain stretch goals, like from the community seeing it, I think it was 15,000, and then the other one was 20,000. We would add another limited 100 cover drop into the mix, you know, which has been super cool. It's been super fun. To do that. I see in the chat, speaking of an artist, he was actually one of our hybrid cover contest submissions. We have Jacob Throckmorton. Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening, Jacob. I'm excited for you in the chat, and thank you for being in the chat. So with that, for the farm fight reaction, I'm a big wrestling fan, so this one's for you.
Are you kidding me? How did he do it? Did he
We got clips everywhere. We're hiding them for you. But super amazing work that I love that you're doing. I love the work that you guys are doing in VeeFriends. One of the best experiences that I've ever had in comics was doing your awesome event that you guys hosted for New York Comic Con, where you brought all creators in and you made everyone feel at home. I felt super happy to be there and grateful, connecting with so many people that were like just really excited about comics and excited about collectibles and like seeing what's going on. It wasn't like no bad talking, no nothing. It was just like what's working and what's not working, and everyone just brainstorming around. It was like so awesome, you know. So really appreciate that.
You're talking about the dinner, the big dinner, yeah. So that's one of the things. I mean, Gary definitely was like, hey, let's bring together different minds from across the spectrum of it, from newer comic artists to legends to even some of the other people in that room were kind of like buyers from big comic stores to the head of eBay Live, I think, was there, and TikTok Live. I didn't get to talk to those guys much because they were on the other side. But, you know, it's the thing that came out of that meeting for me, and we're still talking about it to this day, is that there's no leadership in comic books. There's no leadership in comic books. Like Jim Lee ain't it. You know what I mean? Like they're all like in their own ecosystems pushing their own stuff. There's nobody pushing comics as a you know, medium across everything. It's usually like, oh, this is our comic that we're trying to get made into a movie, or, you know, there's nobody really championing comic books. I hope that person could be Gary one day when he's not as busy. And I think he would like to do that. I just think he's just taking his time to kind of make sure that it's right. He would love nothing more than comic book stores to be doubling, tripling their sales, not just with VeeFriends, but with everything, you know, teaching that, like inspiring them. I don't even like to say teaching them, inspiring them to try something new, why not have a Whatnot stream in your comic book store? You know, like, some of your back issue bins. I mean, there's so many interesting things that you can try and do. And people just are afraid to, they're either afraid that they don't have the resources to do it or the time, or, you know, but then once they see the results, you know, they see someone else getting the results, then they're like, maybe I will try that, you know? So just keeping that positive affirmation of anything's possible. Like that is the craziest truth, is that anything really is possible if you get rid of the negativity and just focus on surrounding yourself with good people and good creators. And it's hard to do that in the comic book space, Paul. Like there's a lot of negative stuff out there, right? Like there's a lot of, I saw people, you know, I was in the comic book news and some of the forums and stuff, and the comments, and seeing people like complaining about Dork, which like Dork's taking over the comic book industry right now. And people are like, yeah, but the story's not that good. Like there's always going to be those voices. You just have to go, never mind that. It's exciting. It's fun. It's good cartooning, you know, like let's celebrate everybody that's coming up, because it's like a
Yeah.
15-minute cycle, it seems. Who knows what's next, you know?
It was the first thing I did because, like I said, it was the biggest Kickstarter we ever done. We have 21 days left. We're already 21K, 409 backers. And the first thing I did was go to my comic store that has nothing to do with my Kickstarter, nothing to do with my stuff. And I just bought, $100 worth of stuff, all books. And then I saw from the hype, because I didn't get Dork. I heard Dork was amazing. So, I just wanted to get in on the hype. So I bought the Invincible cover. I got the regular cover, and I'm just stacking them all in. And I just, bring it in. There is a lot of negativity, but I feel like guys like you, guys like Gary, guys like me, a lot of the people that you even had at the event, it's just like, as long as you're all positive, we're surrounding ourselves with positivity, and you could just like flow through it. And that's why I feel like that's what successful is. And those are the difference of the people that make a lot of money online or in conventions and stuff, because, even this weekend, it's like people see I'll post like 100 people that buy stuff from my booth, but they don't see the 300 people that told me to fuck off, So it's just like, like we're trying to, say hi to people, interact with people, but, it's just about pushing through and just finding those right people that are interested in building something or into something new, and then, going from there.
Yeah, something that I yammer about a lot behind the scenes, and I just did it a few moments ago in another meeting, was talking about like what every brand needs to do. And I did this for YouTubers for a long time. I worked for a company for 12 years where I helped some of the top YouTubers sell more merch. And how we did that was they needed to create true fans. You might have subscribers, but you don't really have true fans. So we had to define what true fans were. And we came up with I kind of came up with it because I just looked at all the data and I was like, who is really the true fan in this group? What does that mean to define them? And it's like a true fan will absorb or consume almost everything you put out for free. So if you're putting out social media, they see your Instagram, they see whatever's served to them. That's why I say almost. They buy 80% of what you sell. So like in VeeFriends' case, we put a lot of products out. There's treasure chests, there's cards. Someone might not like cards, but they would like treasure chests, or they would like comic books, right?
Yeah.
But they buy 80% of what you put out, and they become brand ambassadors. They oftentimes you'll see them linking you, shouting you out. But it's mostly about that. Do they buy 80% of what you sell? You know who your top customers are. And if you can get 1,000 of those, 1,000 true fans, there's the article out there called 1,000 True Fans, you're pretty set. You're pretty set as an independent, creator. But then when you go to shows, and you're at a lot of shows, and I was just at Emerald City. Are you going to C2E2?
Yeah. Are you?
I'll be there. Yeah. Very, very low. So we'll have to hook up there. But
Yeah, we'll link up. David's going to be there too.
Yep, David will be there. Agnes will be there. There's a whole crew of people we're getting together now, where it's like, oh wow, like it's a cool system. But when I was walking through Artist Alley, which was very impressive, I'm always impressed with the amount of talent that's there. I was also like, oh, I run a drawing club where there's a lot of artists that are like, how do I stand out in this sea of, and the answer is you don't. It's not going to be, I made a new banner, I got a new print. It's the thing that you do right now, building your audience online and building that, so that when you are in Seattle, your fans in Seattle come out, right? Yeah. We did this at San Diego Comic-Con. VeeFriends is a little bit different because it's got a built-in audience now that we've been around for almost 5 years.
Yeah.
The comic book's not
from
so
the hard. NFTs, from the cards, from the social media, and now you guys are. The last year, you've really been doing the comics. Like,
yeah, Gary, there was a lady, I forget her name, so hopefully she's not listening. She has a company where she sold seasoned salt. Her grandma's, like, she was inspired by Gary, like a Gary talk, to go out and start selling that on Whatnot. And now she's doing it full time. And so she actually found out we were at Emerald City through us going live, and we said, hey, we're going to be live on Whatnot in half an hour. She's like, wait, you guys are in Seattle? Like, where are you at? So she had just come from the Comic-Con, didn't even know we were there. So she was like, she ran back, brought us samples of her salt or her seasoning. Sorry, I shouldn't call it salt, but it's like family seasoning stuff. Mm-hmm. And she's like, yeah, try this, but that's what I mean. Like, there's this inspiration for entrepreneurship that might not never have anything to do with comic books. But so Gary really drives that. And of course, I want those people to buy comic books and read comic books. But yeah, just looking at that sea of it almost blurs because there's so much talent there, but it's all commoditized. It's just all the same looking. There was only probably a couple booths that I stopped at that were very like punk rock, like really like low key guys doing it. You know what I mean? Like, but I just say like, wow, why, how much are they not spending on social media? Or how artists say, or publishers even say like, oh, we don't like Instagram. And I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I think that's so short-sighted. Like, you got to keep, I know there's politics in everything and like the world is, whatever, crazy, but it's also like you have a, as a storyteller that's trying to tell good stories, I think you have a,
an obligation.
An obligation. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. An obligation to put your work out because you should be putting more creative stories into the darkness that's out there, right? Because that's what people were looking for when people were coming around, and we had a really low key setup. Like we got our setup last minute, Paul. Like it was like
those are the best though.
Yeah, I booked my plane ticket like a week before just to make sure. Like, oh, do we have a spot? Okay, we'll send books there, and I'll go. And we had quite a few people come back around, like teenagers, that said like, this is our favorite table. And I'm like, really? Because there's like all this crazy stuff, like Boom Studios is right there and like all this stuff. They're like, yeah, like just the vibe was better. Like they just, oh, there's new stories here. So I would question them and say like, what are you looking for? Oh, we come to Artist Alley because we're looking for the new. We're looking for the new, like where are the new stories, whatever. That's where they're at in the indie sections of Artist Alley, or sometimes it's like Independent Alley or something like that. And that's where you're at a lot of times too, like San Diego Comic-Con. And
yeah, San Diego Comic-Con and small press. C2E2, I'll be on the main floor because there's no small press at C2E2 this year. So I have the corner booth right next to AA. Shout out Reed Pop for hooking your boy up.
That's good.
And yeah, it's gonna be sick. C2E2 was a huge one. I did amazing in No Man's Land, and everyone, like, you hear it all the time. They're like, the traffic isn't here. It's okay. You'll find the traffic. I'm handing out flyers. I'm handing out cards, trying to interact with people. And if you earn the right, and you pitch them stuff, because people want to see that you actually had a proven track record, especially if they don't know direct consumer. Some people just go to conventions. Some people just order online. Some people go to stores. And when they see something that's already built up, I feel like that's what they've been waiting for, because there's so many times at conventions, well, maybe they got a book last year and that guy just stopped doing it, So like someone like VeeFriends or like myself, Visual Vibration, like having that consistency is really what's gonna, take over, and having your proof of concept. Like, you guys ship, you guys get over your stuff out, you guys are always on time. I see that there's an error. You guys went tenfold back to your customers. Like, like you guys are, killing it,
That was painful, but yeah.
But just like in a sense of like, you're ready, and that comes from that business mindset that, that you guys have. And if it's Andy, if it's Gary, and if it's you, like you guys, come from that area where, I feel like people just think, hey, my art should speak for itself. But if you're not shooting the art out there, no one's going to get it,
Yeah. I mean, my goodness, like there's so much to be said about, I've heard the gamut of, well, we do a lot of these blind bags, right? Mainly because it's not because
blind bags,
this one? It's not like a speculator thing, or like we're trying to, like, as a matter of fact, I think Gary, proposed the blind bag situation before Marvel started crushing out the blind bags again on Whatnot. Like they beat us, like they didn't beat us to it, but like we were figuring out our own supply chain. They obviously went a mass route, like a mass publishing route, like 200,000 copies or something like that. We're not doing that. We're doing 10,000, but what we did was we learned what worked in trading cards, which Gary's big in the trading card market, and that excitement that actually families had, like dads and sons and moms and their kids, like breaking product together, and like that surprise and delight of like, oh my God, they get a gold or whatever, or even the disappointment too. Like sometimes you don't win. Sometimes it is a base copy. You know what I mean?
We're going to find that out in a little bit.
But sometimes you pull the freaking 9.8.
Yeah, this was sick because I just did this to like support regardless, because I was going to come see you, and I just bought a bunch of shit. And I was like, And that's me anyways. If I would have got an 8.0, I still would have posted it. But it was just fun to do it. And it was a good experience. I feel like that CGC stuff's never been done before. That's very smart. Like you guys were doing the blind bags. And then I feel like the big one that came and blew up was Skybound did the blind bags.
Sure.
And then, you know, everyone just started following suit again.
Sure. Yeah. And I think like there will be a time where we might, you know, I mean, for now, the VeeFriends title, that's where that lives. It lives in the blind bags, and it's just you know, the rarity structures may change. You know, we can play with it, and we have the ability to play with that. We can say like, oh, you know what, maybe it's not this, or maybe it's a giant book this month. You know, like we could do whatever we want when it's.
Well, you did do a small one too, and I have that as well. I actually have it sealed still. You know, so
you know why we went small when we initially started with issue 2. Issue 2 went small. 8.5 by 11, you know, 8.5 by 5.5 digest size ash can. And I said, I was kind of like, I trust Gary because like Gary's been right about so many things.
Yeah.
And I've been in comic books for so long, and I wanted to change because I think comic books just need a big change, shake up.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm going to listen to everything Gary has to say about how we can change things up in the comic book space because I'm excited to do that. And he said, let's go mini comic size. And I said, why? And he said, well, he really liked the playbills from Broadway. He had a couple in his office, and he's like, you know, we can get these graded too. Like they grade these playbills. He's like, that's an interesting size, and it's not as big, and you could put it on your shelf, and it's like doesn't take up as much space. And he was mindful of people's like collector spaces in their houses and stuff. And I thought, okay, let's do that. But then it turned out they wouldn't grade them in that size in that special case unless it was a playbill because it's like a special category or something, I think.
Yeah.
I might be misspeaking on that, but they did grade the mini comic size. They just put it in the
big one. Yeah. I saw
the giant slab. What do I got? I got my wife bought me a, where is it? Gosh darn it. Here it is. She got me a Fearless Fairy 9.6 on. So they framed it inside of the case.
Yeah. It's sick. I like it.
I've never, you know, I don't care about any of this. Like, I don't like I'm more about, I don't like things to be trapped in plastic, but it is kind of neat that it's going to stay that way forever, you know, like, or, you know, hand it down to someone else or something like that. I mean, me personally, I don't mind. I just want comics to be read. But I've been saying a lot lately that there's like this diamond to comics. There's the speculator on this side and the reader on this side. There's publishers up here, and the comic shops or streamers or whatever, e-commerce is down here. You can't do like heavily speculation without having that whole diamond, right? You got to do something that's in the middle for readers and collectors. So that's why whenever they come, they discover us at a show and they've talked to us one-on-one or even on a live stream, actually, because I have a lot of people that just would watch my morning drawing streams that were pretty chill. I wasn't selling anything. As a matter of fact, I was just giving things away. And that really made the demand for my art go up. People wanted more of my whatever DJ's working on, or like, can I get a DJ sketch? And I'm like, or, you know, oh, DJ is the greatest thing that happened to VeeFriends. And I'm like, no, that's not true. I'm just following Gary's lead because Gary told me to do this. You know, like Gary's like, let's be accessible. Let's be, you know, out there talking to people. And if and any creator could do this, because if you're there every day for someone and talking to them and you notice they're like Steve's wood carving, he says, those days. I see him in the chat. There was 8 a.m. streams. He's in Ireland. I know all about Steve, right? So like you start to know your customers. I would say Steve is a true fan of VeeFriends. And it's not so easy to get things over in Ireland, and it takes forever to send things there. But we knew, like, you start to get to know somebody that shows up every day. So
speaking of the people that show up, let's say what up to the chat. So Steve Wood Carving, thank you for checking us from Ireland. Big wrestling guy. This one's for you.
Nice for coming, Carlito. He was about driven to Duluth.
What up? Another person in the chat, we got Luke Dockery, the artist of Hybrid 1, which is kicking ass on Kickstarter right now. This kid's 19 years old. Sky's the limits. He did a 56 interior page book for Hybrid 1, and we're doing all the trading cards together. So he has a very special intro. Do I have it? And this is for you, buddy.
Wish you could have seen me. I think you would have been really proud. There you are. Oh, Alfred, I am so sorry.
Keith saved in the chat. You got a true fan in me. Thank you, Keith. We appreciate that. We appreciate you checking us out. We appreciate you checking out VeeFriends. And with that, here's another RKO.
Oh my God!
And I see another great artist in the chat, Kevin Tran. Kevin Tran had an exclusive 100 copies on our Kickstarter and sold out. So he's making another cover for us, which will be out soon. This one's for you, bud.
It's going to be Del Rio!
We are here for sure. Thank you so much. Corso VF for VeeFriends.
That's Corso.
Corso, what up? What is up, my guy? Flying me out of nowhere for you.
Is brought to you by Modelo.
I like UFC.
Yeah.
Like UFC, like wrestling. That's my big thing. But I also love creating. You already brought up VeeFriends issue 2. I wanted to pull that up. So everything is on VeeFriends for you to read. You guys could pull up these PDFs yourself if you want to check them out firsthand. And VeeFriends issue 2, The Fearless Fairy, you drew this whole book, correct?
Yeah, I drew that one. Yep. Drew it.
Story and plot by Gary Vaynerchuk. Script and art by DJ. Super sick. Walk me through what's going on here, man.
Well, there's a character we have called Fearless Fairy, and Gary created these characters, and Fearless Fairy is born with a brother who ends up, being a character named Bad Intentions. So you find out through this story, these fairies were born. It takes like 1,000 years for them to bloom. They're born in a flower.
cool.
The fairy king and queen, this was all collaborative with Gary, because I was like, well, wait, if they're born, they must have parents, right? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, can they be the fairy king and queen? Yeah. And so they send them on a quest to find their wands. And when one finds the wand, they decide to. It's like a classic kind of fairy tale vibe was what I was going for here. But they find this thing called the fear carrot. And he decides to take the easy route, finds this fear carrot that makes everybody afraid, steals it from the gnome there, the knowing gnome. And meanwhile, Fairy's taking the other route and actually doing it right and going on the quest to find the wands. She finds their wands, tries to go bring the wand to her brother, but by the time it's too late, these weird holes are in the ground. Well, this is fun to read this like this. And there he is. He's now corrupted by this fear carrot. And there's a transformation that happens into kind of this like trickster little bunny. We don't call him a bunny or a rabbit. He's called Bad Intentions.
Yeah.
And so she's basically trying to save her brother, saying like, you can, come back, take your wand. He snaps the wand in half, cuts a hole in the ground, like these magical rabbit holes, like getting lost in the rabbit hole. And instead of giving up on her brother at the end there, she decides like, I can't give up on him. He's my brother. And so that's how that story ended, was her diving into the hole. Right.
Yeah.
So, and there will be more Fearless Fairy for people, Scotty and other people that are reading. There's going to be more Fearless Fairy coming. It's definitely one of our iconic characters in the universe.
Now, how does a process like that start? So for your issue 2, we can go back. So issue 2, you're drawing the whole thing. What is that process after you figure out like the plot? Is it like you're going page by page? Do you do some layouts to try to figure out what's going on? Or you just kind of flow with it?
And I could have had this queued up too to show you, but yeah, I mean, that was before the summits too. That was before summits. So it was Gary calling me up going, here's the story, and I'm like, all right. So I just noted everything down. I think the only reason we had such a small page count on that one was time. We had a turnaround time, but plus we got a quote on, someone got a quote on that. So they told me like, make an 8-page story. So I did. And so I would definitely sketch them out really loose and really rough, put the lettering in there. But I mean, I was talking like stick figures, pretty much scribbles. But Gary could seem to see what I was throwing down. So like, I just read those to Gary once the main dialogue is in, then I kind of guess. And he might say like, oh no, have him saying this. No, it's 1,000 years that they bloom instead of 555 or whatever. Like, so we just go through it together. I take the notes, then I just finish it up after I get his main feedback. He's not necessarily worried about the art, because he's like, just trusts that the art's going to come out cool.
Yeah.
It's mainly about the writing and the idea behind it. So yeah,
I love it.
now that's on
And
a
then
whole
you would
level.
say that for issue 5, it was more of a different process for, you know.
Definitely. Yeah, issue 5 on, like, because everything else was done in the other way, including issue 6 actually was kind of filled in. Issue 6 was done, but it wasn't issue 6 yet. Issue 5 came out of the first summit, and Gary just cooked on that. I mean, we talked about different things. We talked about Gary, Indiana for a little bit, and we didn't know that was going to be about the motivated monster story, but that ended up being the setting, because it's such like a, you know, depressed area that, like, just like many towns in America, like all the industry left, and it's left with like pretty much hopeless people, or like, you know, a lot of dysfunctional families come out of those places, like in the Rust Belt. And Gary was like, this is the champion he's the champion in the family of losers. So these are the loser sons, but he won't give up on his family, because most people in a family like that will leave and never come back or not talk to their brothers and sisters. So this was kind of this thing that, you know, for anybody that knows Gary, he does a lot of like meet and greet lines for hours and hours and hours, and they're all mic'd up usually. And they gave me a lot of the access to some of those from VCon, and you just hear the darkest stories sometimes people are actually going through. So I think that Gary has, throughout all these years, hearing all these dark stories or twists and being able to encourage people to kind of get out of their funk, Gary just knows how to inject that into stories in a more powerful way, I think, because someone reads this and they're like, that's it. This is my character. Even though it's a really strange story. I mean, the origin here is that there's some kind of toxic liquid that the one brother drinks after they've buried him alive. The other brother buries the other brother alive here coming up.
Yeah.
He's trying to run for city council. They get in a fight. He buries him alive. Turns out that grandpa left a bunch of money to them, but the family spent it all. It's like,
this was really good. This was really well put together. I really enjoyed this. I thought it was very good. It was great storytelling.
Yeah. And then there's the Viking. I said, hey, can the Viking be the grandfather, the great grandfather of this? Because he wasn't a loser. He was Leif Loserson. So there's a lot of little weird like connections there, but like, I think a lot of people that have been in situations, and unfortunately there's a lot more families that are dysfunctional than functional, see themselves in these characters a little bit. Even the struggle of not knowing your grandfathers or your people that have passed, not knowing your family history, that kind of stuff. Yeah, so they bury him alive here, and then Gary's like,
yeah, this was crazy. So what was the pit like? So Gary says to you what?
He's just like, these families suck so much that like when he goes and digs up his grandpa, I thought that was weird enough. I was like, you know, he digs up his grandpa. I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, he's never met his grandpa. They've really broken his spirit. So he goes to, they think like, did they kill his grandpa? He goes to dig him up to find out. Did they murder him? Whatever. But when he digs him up, he just like lays beside his grandfather to say like, I never got to know you, but you're okay. And all this stuff. And I'm like, oh man, that's creepy. And Gary's like, yeah, that's what I want. I want a creepy vibe here. And then that brother comes back, buries him alive. And then 5 years later on his birthday, on the brother's birthday, he drinks that weird beer that has toxic stuff in it, pees on the grave. The pee goes down in the ground and creates this half grandpa, half grandson. So it's half grandpa, half Larry, half Barry, or Larry Loserson comes out as the motivated monster at the end. And accidentally
what's the significance for the 5 years, 500, 5 on the cheek, 555? What's the significance for the 5?
The 5 comes from Gary's world, where you know, when he says 5 or he holds up the 5, it's like basically saying hello to his mom. number one. And it's because she sewed him a Jets jersey when he was a kid because they couldn't afford it. They couldn't afford like the fancy jersey, so she sewed him a number 5 jersey to wear. So every time he throws up a number 5 and he says he wants to buy the New York Jets and all that stuff, it's basically like a thank you to his mom.
Mm-hmm.
But we've definitely tied it into VeeFriends lore and history. Anytime there's 5, the number 5 or 55 or 555 or we've been just adding that a lot just because it's got such a, some of the VeeFriends themselves have 5s on them.
Yeah.
So Motivated Monster has a 5 on the cheek. They're called the 5 characters. Like whether they have special, collectible
like the
traits. Yeah. Collectible traits in the futures, or some people will even like, I think I had a, there's a 5 on the bottom of the, I don't know if you can see that. There's 5s on the bottom of Empathy Elephant's feet.
Nice.
It's just a strange thing that happened in the design of those characters when he drew them initially, and he just decided like it was just kind of like an intuition when he decided certain characters were going to have 5s and signatures and stuff like that, just as he was doing them. So, but we've definitely built it into the lore now. Like everything from Ninja, where they have to pass down the mantle of the Notorious Ninja every 55 years.
Yep.
Robot is 555 years in the future. There's a shot. Yeah, there's a shot of us at the summit. I wrote a nice little editorial of like what it's like to work.
This is super cool. I did this for episode 6 too. It really gets you that connection with your audience, even though yes, you're all over social, you're all over doing everything. This is awesome.
Yeah, I
know we skipped the beat, but this guy just wakes up,
super
powered out, and punches a hole through the guy.
Accidentally punches his brother in the chest, knocks his heart out his back. Yeah. And that's how the story ends for now. So there will be more motivated
what
monsters.
made you do the switch in a sense of like, okay, so you were drawing some of the issues, you draw a lot of the covers, if not all of them, and then art by what made you switch up the artist for this issue? Was it just like a time reason? Is it because you liked his art for the style?
I think when we were all in that room and it became apparent, like, DJ, you can't draw all these comics. Because I was doing the daily comic strips and I was doing the Sunday comic strips, which were in newspapers as well. And it just was too much. Like, it's like, okay, now we're doing full comic books. DJ, your job is to build this comic team. Especially, we got monthly comics going. And then he's like, let's do 2 comics a month. So that was one of the reasons for building out the internal comics team. Now, even to the point where we're so far ahead, depending on the story, we need to hire writers, writers and artists to kind of come in and do these series, or when it makes sense. Like if someone's really good at drawing zoo animals, well, boy, we've got a zoo script for you. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of weird, like there's a lot of ones that are kind of strange like that. Yeah, there's some comic strips. Yeah.
Now these come out daily. I know you were also putting them in the newspapers. Are you still putting them all in the newspapers too?
Yeah. So they were coming out daily on the website for a long time. My first year and a half of working at VeeFriends, because that's all I was hired to do, was make basically a comic strip for social, pretty much. And then we got to deal with the newspaper syndicate, Lee Enterprises, and those were coming out weekly in the newspaper. What we've done now, they still come out weekly in the newspapers, but we've transferred over to serializing the stories. So you get 2 pages of the comic now. So Rare Robot's been running since January-ish, I think. Like there was a couple in January that came out. And then Gary's like, let's shift it to tell the stories. Like, let's tell the canon, right? Like, these stories, these were
the Kind Warrior.
Yeah, if you scroll down a little bit further, you'll see even further. Because like I started to make comics, maybe even further. Because like right when the Icy Ice Cave thing happens, yeah, now you can see like if you just click any random one there, they're kind of just one-shot classic, newspaper type stuff that change every week.
Now,
be true to yourself and all that stuff. It's kind of like a more of a motivational brand. And then we just killed that. Gary's like, I don't want to do that anymore. Let's focus on the canon. What's the actual universe we're building?
And then build.
So, and then you can go back and see that I think I started like with the Wizard and the Icy Ice Cave is like takes place before issue 2. So the Sunday comic started to be like a bridge of extra story that you could grab every week if you knew VeeFriends or if you didn't. So that we could also say, hey, now that story's for free. Go read it online. Who's reading the newspapers? There's a lot, you know, like people would say like, oh man, I don't get a newspaper and I don't read it. But there's still quite a few people that read the newspaper, even digital, you know, people in their 30s, 20s. Like I was really surprised by all the data there. But yeah.
Now, is it easier for you to write a condensed story, but now it's in 3 parts? So let's go back to that 1 page. Is it easier for you to say, hey, this is about kindness, I could do 9 panels? Or is it easier to say, hey, I can lay out a comic book, 20 pages?
I've got like a different method now for writing out the stories. So I always work in different frameworks. I'm going to try and find one for you while we talk here without spoiling anything. And I know there's some people watching too that will be looking for.
And as you're doing this, I cut this open. We just looked at it live. Make sure you're looking at VeeFriends stuff, looking at DJ stuff. I've had this from DJ, and now I am pulling it and cover it.
Yeah.
Awesome. There we go. Super sick. I'll be bagging this. They come super mint, even that they're bagged. No chips on the corners. Super sick. Smells brand new.
Mm.
I think I might have got this one at the dinner. And that's another thing too. On top of this amazing event that they hosted, they're giving us free stuff. They're giving us, comic books. It was really nice.
Look at Minakawa.
Cover A pulled. We have one more. Should I rip it open? Let me know.
I would always say the answer is always yes for me, but
They always answer.
I'm trying to find I can't really show. Oh boy.
Scotty in the chat. Rare Robot is my favorite. Rare Robot.
Okay.
Awesome character.
That's a good one.
Rip.
That's a good one to pull up, actually. Rare Robot. And then I can also pull up Astronaut.
And you had a great exclusive with Walmart as well. I have a bunch of those in my office upstairs. I thought they were so sick. My daughter loved the book as well. My daughter's 4 years old, and she was looking through the book. She was having fun with them, but she gets bored very easily. I was watching your cartoons today, and they're very well put together. That was another thing too. So you have the cards, the NFTs, the comics, and then you do an animated version of the comic. And then also I clicked on it to watch it before. That's why I got the PDF one. I click on it and it starts reading it to me. I was like, dude, you guys are killing it, dude.
Yeah, we've got a tech team. Our process, I don't know if you can see this now. I try to share my screen, but
all right, let me see if I can add it to the stage.
Okay, there we go. So these are the Miro boards that I use. They've become pretty famous, but this is what we use when we go through the stories with Gary. I'll show you Rare Robot. The difference between Rare Robot, which I wrote myself based on the plot. So we got to zoom out here. This here over here is what I call my story.
What platform you use to make all this?
This is Miro board.
Miro.
MIRO. It's just a big visual board. But you can see this is what I call my storyline method now, where you have Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, and all of these things down here are notes during the brainstorming session with Gary. Some of them get turned pink, some of them get turned, you know what I mean? Like some of them are just ideas. It looks like a mess, but you're seeing like how I'm moving those note cards. Like, is this a turning point in the story? Is this the rising action in the story? And then this one's a little bit messy, but because I made it myself, so I was like, I didn't need to give it to anyone else. AI helps Utopia. So this is the actual storyline that happens throughout. Although this didn't happen, he's not dying. And then I take these cards and I'll say like underneath these would be usually the pencils are underneath there.
Sick.
The inks. The roughs aren't there anymore, but usually just pencils and colors for me. But those note cards become the heavy, like the bigger overarching thing. Since I'm writing this myself, I do most of the writing directly on the page. So it'll look like this when I'm reading it to Gary. But But something like Jim Rugg writing for the first time for another artist, he took the same kind of like, hey, we had the hook opening, the inciting incident. We knew what this was from the actual story summit we had with Gary. And then from those, the note cards happened kind of like this. Story issue flow. Scientists discover a mysterious interstellar. They tell the president. Astronomers discover the interstellar object.
And what are those images on the side they're using? Is that like perspective? Is that reference of just what was going through your brain?
So this is something that Jim Rugg would grab for the artist. Like this is the building that he's talking about. This is what a control center might look like, just to give reference. And then Jim would actually put the script, the full script over here for Ben to read. And then when Ben was done with his pencils, he would just paste them right into this. So that way, if we get someone like Gary, who's very busy and he's got 15 minutes, we can just do a really quick, without looking at Google Documents or this or that, or trying to, I forgot where that email was. Here it is all on the board.
Everything.
Everything's there on the board. This was the first time you could see here how when it wasn't lettered, we did a read through with Gary where Jim Rugg put the note cards in here and read them to Gary before it was colored.
That's
and then the
so
final
cool. This is so well put together. You said this is messy. This is amazing. This is an amazing.
Yeah,
I mean, this is so cool for people to see.
Yeah.
Because everyone has a different approach. Even the writer I just put on, he has a different approach. I have a different approach. Marvel has a different approach. This is, you would say, the DJ approach to making comics. I love this. So you lay out all the concept art. Is that like sketches you did, or you're looking up images online?
This is what Ben, we would say, hey, Ben, throw some sketches in here for the, throw your sketches for the spacecrafts in here, throw your sketches for the aliens in here. I think I said like, hey, let's not, this style is fun, but let's not do that because it looked like, it looked like the Darwin's book. Yeah, Martian Manhunter. I said, no, let's not do that. His layout for this page, he put in there. Like, we also said, like, can you make it look like this was Gary's original alien? We're like, how do you make the original alien kind of show up more in the?
I was going to say too, because I'm looking at when I was looking at the characters, the Viking, all these characters, they had this very simplistic design, and now when you give it to a new artist for like this different drawing style,
right?
Is that hard to like maneuver or?
Well, I mean, it's kind of cool because you've got the basics, right? You've got the this is the Minakawa. This was the Y2K version. This was the Series 2 version. And then you give it to someone like Jeremy Heiler and you're like, what do you think? And then he comes back with this and you're like, okay, okay. And we might have to show Gary, like we would say, hey, Gary, what do you think of this? This is way different than that. And of course, Gary was like, that's freaking sick, right? Like we should go with that. But you could see Jeremy was even doing his layouts on notebook paper, which was crazy, which I'd never seen. Cool. I think it's really raw and cool. And it also shows people like you don't need fancy stuff. You could do it online on notebook paper, you know what I mean, for your layouts and whatnot. And same process. Jim Rugg wrote this one based on the plot from Gary, and the scripts were put in. And
the plot from Gary, would that be something that's just spoken? Is it something that he writes down or voice memos you?
Yeah, the plot from Gary was very much the same. It was pretty much this, like, during World War II, Japan secretly deployed a weapon. There's a hidden base. Like Gary would just riff it for 20 minutes. So we have it all recorded. So we could just go back to the recording and be like, let's make sure we hit all these beats that Gary said. And then we add things, of course, like the lotus seed came from Gary too. Like, by the way, a lotus seed is very weird to draw. Apparently it's like not an easy thing to make out.
In this type of process on this platform, are you in that meeting making those little note tabs, or is this something you write everything out first, and then when you have the time, you're like, let's lay it out?
Yeah, I mean, like this is what this is funny because like I can't zoom in too much with this, but I think I can go back to some of the original. This yellow was the first summit, and this is the other summit. This is how each one of these blocks is a concept for a comic book. So in one summit, we'll come up with 17 or 18 different things. So here's Ninjas. This was Ninja's original board from the summit. So Gary would say like, hey, listen, there are car dealerships. They're modern family that are rivaling car dealerships. In public, he's a good person. He comes from an immigrant family. Should we include these characters? You're going to die fly, radical rabbit, dope dodo, maybe accountable ant. These are just questions. These are just in there, right? This is the kind of like it's about honor. It's about legacy, generational, skate park legend, bad guy that's popular, was supposed to be a bad guy, killer, stealthy, mystery. Like, it's just kind of like that. We even love like Luigi. Like, do people like him because he's kind of the guy that kills people, whatever, you know?
Yeah, trying to pick where current culture is at.
Yeah, it starts with an earthquake. Gary said that. Like, it has to start with an actual historic thing that happened. And then they retire at 55 and have to pass it on. So, like, I started to see this as, okay, what's our act one? You know this as a writer, but I'm like, wait, there has to be all these things in a good story. You have to have the rising action, the twist, the shift. Sometimes there's even a second turning point, a low point in the crisis, like that kind of thing. And doing it in this way, make sure you're hitting all those beats. Because if you've ever read a story where you're like, something's missing. Oh, you're missing the second turning point in your story. Like, just it's too much of a straight shot, like A, B, C, D, and the end. There needs to be a climax. There needs to be tied up loose ends, you know, like all that, right? So there's farm fights. Farm fights was even like less like it's a core ensemble characters. We talked about what characters would be in there. These all made it in. There was different teams competing against each other. You know, it's a cross between modern day cockfighting and old school wrestling. And there's, you know, like,
and there's kayfabe. Let's go.
Yeah. So
now, is this like this pitch was because of that little, you know, the piece of paper that I forgot what they're called. So I'm the kind of like the Bible things, like
the chick tracks.
Yeah, the trick tracks, and then you're just like, hey, this is the story we want to go with. Like it's just like, boom, that's the one. Or is it like you guys were like really into wrestling that day, and you're like, hey, this is an issue that we want to do?
I think Jim Rugg was like, hey, what if the farm fights wasn't just farm animals competing with funny games and stuff? Because they were doing sack races, they were doing all kinds of crazy shit on this farm.
Yeah.
But he's like, what if it's a wrestling league? And Gary was like, yes, let's do that. Like, it's a wrestling league. So like, here's Monster. This is what Monster originally looked up. You can see up all the different notes here. Pisses on grave. Like, you could definitely see like triggers MM. Turns out Grandpa never died.
The color coordination, is that something that you guys have as a team? Is it something that you're just feeling for that certain issue? Like blue is this, purple is this, or you try to
green is usually locked in. Like, these are pretty messy. But I'll say like green is pretty locked in. Like, it's something that Gary said, or like, Larry Loserson is his name, you know, founder of the Losers Club, whatever. Born 5 days after his grandfather died. Like, these are all like notes. Usually if it's something that Gary said or we've locked, but every once in a while, you know, we'll change it to pink. Not because anyone said not to do it. It's just like, nah, let's not do that. He talks about 8th place trophies a lot, but there's actually an upcoming comic book that's the whole 8th place trophy topic, right?
Yeah.
So we don't want to touch that in this one. We also talked about, what if the monster was made out of famous people's, like, one of the original ideas was like, what if Motivated Monster was made up of famous entrepreneurs? Like, this is Henry Ford's arm, and this is, you know, like, those were just weird ideas that were thrown about, and it got turned orange because it was like, but I kept it on there just because it's fun to look at that stuff.
And that would have been, same like the fusing point, doing things like that. That would, you know, it's good that you guys have different ideas. And I tell people too, like, not to be married to the original idea. Like, you're going to find that key thing, because I feel like this one blew up a lot for you guys on social. Like, I saw a lot of people making content about the monster. I saw a lot of people really into it. It was one of the 3 books you dropped at New York Comic Con, right? It was like you dropped them for that, or you maybe dropped them a little before.
Yeah, these 3 books came out: Ninja, Monster, and Viking. Viking was already done before these. I'll stop sharing this. But Viking was already done before that summit. And it wasn't one of the ones that Gary was like, sold on. It was one of the ones I pitched. I was like, you got Versatile Viking. He gets shipwrecked on an island. Originally, Gary was like, yeah, I like that idea. Let's go. So we just drew it out. We made it. We hired Kate to draw it. But then once we got to that summit, he was like, no, that shouldn't be issue 5 or whatever that was going to be. He's like, let's go big. Issue 5 has to be a big one because it's issue 5. And And so I connected it by way of that's the Leaf loser. So what you got? All right, it's base.
Cover.
Yeah.
Let's go.
The odds of getting a base are very
one
high.
yet, so I'm gonna read this one later because I definitely want to read this. Same thing, came in mint, looks sick, smells great, high quality paper. It's not that fugaz. It's not that thing you can slap your head with it. It's not done. Cool back cover. Cool back cover as well. I love the art style. Definitely gonna read this.
I'm gonna show you this real quick, just because you pulled that up. Let me try to show you.
If I had to open them, might as well do it with DJ. We got 2 clips right there for Instagram.
Yeah. This was the Versatile Viking book that you just pulled.
Nice.
And it came from Kate had a couple sketches that she gave us because she's so good at character design. So she's like, what about these characters? And I'm like, yes, like this looks sick, Kate.
All of them.
And then I said about the V because I wrote what if he comes across these letters on a beach and he's like, what is this place? Like, where am I? But this was the one that sold me, was him riding on this warthog, the well-rounded warthog as his steed. I'm like, this is like Battle Cat, or, this is very, I'm like, this is cool. This was really cool. And that's kind of what sparked this story happening overall. And you can see how that, it's going to freeze up on me now because I've got too many things open. Oh, there we go.
I think
come on.
Great art. I think the art looks fantastic.
There we go. Yeah, that's the finished. Him coming across. Like, what is this? Someone left a mark here. I'm just kind of like trying to get this, like, even if it's a short story, trying to really make it seem like it's bigger than what it is. Just for people's imagination and stuff like that too. Because you really want to bring your readers into that world where they start. We have people now that are making podcasts, and we've got Kalski in the community out there doing issue by issue breakdowns of, is this the quantum computer in the, like there's a lot of speculation, and it's like, it's fun sometimes because it's like, maybe it is, maybe it's not, who cares? Like,
great idea.
Great idea. We're gonna steal that from you. No, it's a fun thing because, like, if you can get people talking about your stories and excited about them, then they become true fans, or it makes it easier to build new true fans because they're like, what is this Versatile Viking thing? Wait, Motivated Monster is a what? And for now, it just feels, it as a creator, someone who's drawing or writing, I'm in the middle of drawing, and I'm drawing a script. For the first time, someone else wrote a script for me because I hired a writer to write the script for me. So I'm in the middle of drawing that. But it's nice to jump from, what's that?
What issue would that be?
18.
Nice.
Issue 18. So I'm up against deadlines right now, but we'll get there. It's fun to jump from science fiction to comedy, to straight up comedy, back to like something a little more serious. And then we go, oh, now I'm going to write this. So like I'm writing, multiple issues now in that format. And I just love working in that. It's like making my writing a lot easier and better. And I kind of had a chip on my shoulder because I had a guy in the industry say, like, no offense, DJ, but we need a real comic writer. And I'm like, dude, I've been doing this for 30 years. Like, I know how to write a comic book, brother.
Yep,
like,
so
sure. I just said, I'll show you. So I'm writing everything now. I'm writing every genre, every single thing I can write. So just to kind of prove myself to myself.
Who showed you the way to make that? Was that something you just made up yourself, or like that type of formatting, like in a sense of like that you're using this platform, you're doing a lot of notes and things like that? Like, what made you go that route versus like, let's say, a Marvel way, or just like a regular script in a sense of like, this is page 1, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's more of a mix of a couple of things. Number one, I've been studying storytelling for so long. Mm-hmm. And since I've been writing I don't write a script for myself. I don't go panel 1, DJ, panel 2.
Yeah.
But if I'm writing for someone else, then I go, okay, now I know. I'm just going to speak to Chris as if I were drawing it myself. Yeah. Here's what I would say to myself. That's kind of how I write for the artist. And then having the Miro board itself came by way of, I was already using it for other things, like strategy stuff for my brand and stuff. But I realized like, oh, this is way easier to go through quickly on a 15-minute call with Gary. And we can get a lot accomplished because Gary's just all about speed, efficiency, like let's not waste time.
Yeah.
and it just becomes, and then the artist also liked it too, when they're like, oh, cool, I can just paste my pencils right in here. I don't have to email it or upload it to a Google Drive or whatever. It's just like,
Yeah, and just drag it on. People can move things around,
Yep.
and then you could just get the high files.
You can see your pencils, inks, colors all in one swoop. I can put notes for you on the board so you can check it in the middle of the night. You could just be like, it's very asynchronous, so we don't have to have a meeting about it all the time. I think some people even get alerts if they're on the boards and they go like, oh, so somebody updated the board last night. Like, must be DJ giving notes or whatever. So it's just a really cool, creative process that we use.
Now, you have all these characters, so many different genres. You were saying sci-fi, horror. What about superhero? You guys going to do any superhero stuff on the horizon?
Sure. I mean, I think the original idea was, and they're not superheroes by any means.
Yeah.
Like in the classic sense, but the original idea of the first issue, and then even like, which became like the continuation in the Walmart issue, was like that little team of VeeFriends goes out and helps people and like that kind of stuff. So they are kind of superheroes in that sense. But I mean, we did just kind of cover kaiju. Like we've got Mindful Minakawa as a kaiju. We'll have some gritty crime noir type stuff.
That's cool. Comedy
crime noir, let's say. I can imagine. I don't know if there'll ever be like somebody like donning a cape and like going out and doing like, I don't see that.
Yeah.
But I definitely feel like there's like definitely some heroics, hero moments.
Because then your closest would be, in a sense, would be the Notorious Ninja.
That's right.
What you're doing with that. And now, for you to choose Notorious Ninja, what made you guys say, this is the one we want to go with for a series versus, let's say, Fearless Fairy?
I'm not sure exactly because, like, again, I think Notorious Ninja, I had the bigger, like, I had the original nugget from Gary, which no one listened to, which was that he was a skate park legend. And they never had him, anytime they put out the Ninja cards and stuff, they never had him with a skateboard. And I'm like, that's the coolest thing. Mm-hmm. Gary said the coolest thing, guys. He's a skateboarder. Like, that's sick. So whenever I came with the concept for issue 7, that concept was already laid out. But I was like, remember, Gary, you said this. And he kind of remembered saying it after I said it. He's like, I did say that years ago. And I'm like, yeah, there's a tape of you saying it. That's how I knew. But then him adding that flavor to it of like, oh, it's these two warring clans for centuries. They've been fighting, so it becomes more about family legacy and stuff like that. But I think when I did it, I just wrote it so well in the comics that I liked, like G.I. Joe or, Snake Eyes, like that kind of stuff, that it just vibed with people that read it. So, and then Kate just killed it too with the art as well, like her coloring and the different time changes that happen in it. It just was really good.
And is that something you guys look for an artist, that you want to make sure they could do the whole shebang? Like they want to do the lines?
Yeah, I mean, that's
the
dream, right? Like that's the goal. That's kind of why definitely I picked Kate to come full time. She, it's such a classic story. He wants to be the next Tony Hawk. His family wants him to be the next Notorious Ninja. What happens? Like, oh, that guy lost his arm. Like his original dad, like, did he die in the earthquake? And then it cuts to 1990. So it was Gary that would say, like, no, it takes place in 1990 Southern California skate culture, right? Originally, I said New York. He was like, no, it's Southern California. It's like Santa Monica, there's these two rival, there's Shinoda Motors. And like, I came up with the names. I gave Gary a list of names. So Shinoda is the last name of the Renji Shinoda there. And then there's Yamori, which is the rival clan. And so there's Shinoda Motors and Gutsy Motors are the two warring factions now. With this Rad. He's got a Rad shirt on because Radical Rabbit is another character that's not really the first appearance of Radical Rabbit in that one. But this one just had a really classic, when we really started to get in, this was kind of fleshed out at the first summit because I pitched it and Gary's like, no, it's not New York, it's this. And he really put his sprinkle of flavor on it. I think the more people saw it, maybe behind the scenes, Gary got excited about it too. He's like, oh, this one could definitely be something more than it could be an animation, it could be video games, it could be everything else, but it could also be a long running series, and to find like just asking David Mack. I mean, he had such a good time working on the cover, and we were just talking about it, and he loves gratitude and he loves all the traits of everything VeeFriends, that he told me in passing, this is why you go to shows, right? Like you have these conversations. I think we were at New York Comic Con, and he said, yeah, I've been wanting to do more writing with my brother, and like a co-writing sort of situation. I was like, would you write Notorious Ninja? And he was like, hell yeah. So that's just kind of how that came about. If you don't go out and have those conversations, or you're afraid to ask, someone like, would you write this for us? Or, so, I mean, it's a no-brainer really. Cause like, he just loves all that vibe, skateboarding, ninjas, the 1990s, flashbacks to like other timelines, it's a cool.
And is Kate going to be doing the art, or you didn't confirm an artist yet for the?
Yeah, Kate's doing the art for the
Nice.
first 3 issues.
Yeah, it definitely stands out. I definitely keeping it at 3 issues would be cool too, and you can always mix it up. I think that's cool. The expressions and everything really do. I like the tone and the colors. Everything's really well put together. I really enjoyed this issue.
Yeah, and then
It might be my favorite out of the bunch. That's why I was just curious on.
Yeah,
the
the animators. Then, if it has action like that, I mean, you might have seen the trailers for this or the animated versions. Really good job. Like to see these things moving around a little bit is really cool too. So like someone that might not read a comic book, which I'd prefer them to read comic books, but someone that might not want to read a comic, it makes a cool little animated, social post or something like that, or YouTube video. And it's kind of like that's a cliffhanger there. But like when you see the upcoming series, it's going to start, it's going to definitely lift off right where we started, yeah, and people have been collecting Notorious Ninja now for a few years.
Yeah, you guys were, I think it was 2 years ago. That's where I actually met you, when you guys were giving out the Topps chrome ones. And now look at those things blowing up. And this is cool too, because I had to do this with my artists as well. I was like, because they sometimes, you don't get it. And the pose that you want, you got to pose. I have some funny poses because we did some trading cards of the characters that we're going to start building up to like an actual game like Yu-Gi-Oh! And I just had to get in the pose and like show them. I think this is so cool. It's such a cool thing to have.
Yeah, Kate's a beast. Like she's definitely probably at the very beginning, obviously like she's been around for a little while doing fan art and stuff like that. But, and I knew her online before VeeFriends too, but she's just a powerhouse of talent, like I'm like, she's probably going to, I told her, I was like, Kate, you're already a legend. You just don't know it yet. You're just early in your timeline. You just have to, find your speed. So I can't imagine she won't be doing more stuff. Like nobody's exclusive at VeeFriends. So, I could only imagine she might be doing some stuff for Marvel, or somebody's going to see like, oh, can we have Kate? It's good for VeeFriends then too.
My colorist just got signed to an exclusive to DC.
Doesn't that suck? Exclusives suck. Yeah, yeah.
And thank God we finished this stuff beforehand. And then like it happened even the same thing. My colorist on issue 0, I found a good colorist, and then it ended up being like he's the main guy for Marvel now, 5 years, so it's just like, and I hand out my stuff to a lot of people. I give it to the DC guys, I give it to and it does happen. And people can, you can gatekeep and you can't. Like you got to show your talent regardless. And I'm trying to show them all these guys.
Yeah, I think
it's good to have a good team,
We were locking her in for, I forget what issue she was working on. I think maybe Kind Warrior, or maybe before. No, I think it was Ninja. And I saw that she was doing some Thunderbolts posters and stuff like that. And I remember messaging the team and saying like, hey guys, it's only a matter of time before Marvel or DC scoops up on her and says like, let's put her on an exclusive book or something, which would have been great for Kate. But I was like, hey, Kate, would you come on full? So Gary's like, let's hire her if she'll come, full time with us. And I said, it's not exclusive. I would never want to hold back you working for Marvel or DC. But guess what? You can do Marvel or DC on the weekends.
Yeah.
We get you for the full work day, right? Like, so I think, there's something to that. Because like, even you work for, like, I've been around long enough that like you can go get a gig for Marvel or DC or Image, and like it comes and goes. You have good years and bad years, and like, but if you can be consistently on like a new bullpen, sort of like you're our go-to person, storytellers. That's kind of what we're trying to build. I don't really think we'll grow beyond what we have now, but we're definitely doing more freelance for sure. Like definitely permalance, that kind of stuff.
Now, for the convention circuit, I know you did Emerald City last minute. C2E2, are you guys going to have a booth, or are you going to be roaming?
It's supposed to be more of like an Artist Alley type setup, so it won't be like Artist Alley, but it'll be near Artist Alley. So just a small setup. We've got our books already sent there, and like we'll probably get a little bit more backdropage or something like that. But I'm cool with just, basically being on the ground, meeting new people, and also talking to talent. A lot of our cover artists are there, but like a lot of new people. There's some people that are there that are pretty big names that are already doing some covers for us. So I just want to touch base with them and do some networking. And then as we roll on into the bigger shows, in the summertime, I can't really announce anything because I don't really know either. I'm really at the edge of my, seat here waiting for like confirmation, and then I'll order my, travel. For now, I think, as we grow, and find different, we don't really need to do these shows, but we do, right? So I think I talked to you about that. Is like, why would we jump right into San Diego Comic-Con having a table or giant booth there or something when it's like, we don't really need to do
the table right across from me. I'm in small press, and I got the back
I would love
entry.
to do that. Yeah.
And it's a small area, but like it does damage. Like I kill it, and then C2E2 is a lot bigger, you got to pay more, but is the booth going to be under VeeFriends?
I'm not sure. I think I don't even know if we're listed on the website, to be honest.
I just looked it up right now because we're on Visual Vibration, your VeeFriends, and I looked it up and it's not there yet. So
yeah, we weren't even on Emerald City's list. Like we were so last minute. So it was like Todd Beats. He wasn't listed. Like he got thrown in at the very last minute too. So our events person, like we've got a really good relationship, a long-term relationship with Reed Pop, who runs a lot of those shows. And like we're, they're just working it out, working out what we're up to for New York Comic-Con. And of course you saw the big booth that we have. That's a kind of an epic, like that's bringing the whole brand, that's the stickers, cards. Last year was the first time we had comics, and we had to hit it all at once. We didn't even plan to do that, really. We didn't plan to have all those books come out all at once. It just happened that way, just because of production issues and things. And we're like, oh, we're late. Let's just launch them all at once. It ended up being great. It's kind of a great thing to launch a monster book, a ninja book, and a Viking book and say, which ones do you guys like better? So like we use that market data to go like, oh, turns out people like ninjas. So it's kind of a fun way of doing it.
Yeah, and I definitely think it exploded. You had David Mack. David Mack saw it firsthand on how you guys just murder it. Because I love telling everybody, I'm like, there's the legends that do whatnot and do great, and then you guys, on the grind, you're 5 years in, just like selling things out like there's no tomorrow. It's so impressive to witness, and it's very motivating and inspiring.
I wouldn't say it's definitely like those books, those blind bags are definitely expensive. So I hear that a lot, but again, like you don't like if you're hanging out on our streams, there's a good chance you're probably going to win something or get a giveaway or something like that. Like if you're showing up and hanging out, but we're going to do something, a little bit of something for everybody, in the end, for sure.
Yeah. So C2E2, San Diego, you're not too sure yet?
San Diego, we are going to be there. I can say that. I just don't know to what capacity we will be there. Whether it's
M07, same as last year. And that'd be cool to see you there. And then I think I'm doing Heroes. I just didn't confirm. I think I got to confirm today, she told me. So I think
Jim Rugg's going to be at Heroes Con. He's usually at Heroes. So he told me on this last trip that he's going to set up at Heroes. So there will be some kind of VeeFriends presence there, whether it's just all of Jim Rugg's books that he's doing for us. Yeah, I think in the future, like again, we're early. Like you're in it for a couple years now. The comics are so early, but when we're in the stores in the future, we will build more of a presence and more of a fan base and things like that. Because I started to say earlier, like last year we did a flash mob or a flash meetup at San Diego Comic-Con. The night before, I just said, hey, we're going to be there at 11 o'clock in the lobby of this hotel. And like 30 people showed up,
Yeah.
People were like, some people drove like 4 hours to get there just to get hopefully get the little one comic that we had. And then we did it again at Comics Pro in February. We did like a meetup in the lobby. And again, in front of these retailers, they're like, what are you, like, this stunt that you're pulling? And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Like, we're in the area. We might as well say hello to the fans if they come out. So there's not many other people that do that. And then Jim sat there and signed, and we had Agnes, who's doing the doggy daycare cover for us now. I think I can announce that because they announced that today. Agnes Grabowski, or Grabowska, and she sat there and painted, you know, for an hour or something for people, like just doing their characters that they liked. So it's for free, you know. So that's why people show up. Again, you have to build the true fans, and as much as you can with, you know, also balancing doing the work. We have a lot of work to do. So
a lot of work to do. VeeFriends is absolutely killing it. We pulled 2 books today. I love them. You guys should check out the VeeFriends. I'm excited to see you at C2E2 because that's what I was curious about. If you're going to be at C2E2,
we'll get you some more books. Now you can check out the new books. I'll get you a set of the new books.
Same.
When we meet up. Yeah.
We because we got all the big hype around hybrid. We did our first ever ash can, similar flat form, you know, to what you guys did, but just like a little more sturdier for the ash can, because a lot of ash cans are like paper mache, you know. So
yeah,
I'm super excited. I'm super grateful for your insight. I'm super grateful for you getting me into those rooms. You know, you reached out to me, and that meant a lot. And you know, I talk very highly of you and Gary and everyone to everybody that I possibly can. So I really appreciate that. So
yeah, we might, you know, hey, listen, we're I've talked to you before. It's like the patience of figuring out who goes on what titles and things, but we definitely need writers for certain things. So you're definitely on my list of. Your name is actually on one of those lists, by the way, in the Miro boards, right alongside David Mack and Brian Bendis and like other people. So that's you're on there, man. So,
dude, thank you so much. I'm great to hear that, and hearing that makes me feel very powerful.
Nice.
14 books in, writing strong. We got a new book that I'm putting full publisher hat on, trying to change the game. But I really appreciate that. That made my day. You telling me that, and hopefully, you know, in the next year or so, because you know I'm down. I'm a hustler like you guys, and I really appreciate your insight. Any closing words, DJ?
Man, just read more comics. Read all of our comics.
Read more comics. Thank you guys in the chat for checking us out. We appreciate your time. If you're watching on the playback, check out VeeFriends. You could read these books for free on their website. You can watch these videos for your kids, and make sure you also check out the hybrid Kickstarter that we have live right now.
Yeah.
21K raised. And with that being said, until next time.
And that's all, folks.
You hear me?